The paper was torn from the back of a legal pad, the faint impression of previous notes still indented beneath the surface. She wrote in dark blue ink that pressed hard enough to leave ridges along the page, and her handwriting was careful, almost formal, each letter constructed as though it might later be examined. The folds were precise and exact, edges aligned with deliberate control, the aeroplane sharp and uncompromising in its angles.
I signed it twice. You think the delay was administrative? You think the transfer took longer because the solicitor misplaced something? You think the second copy was a precaution? It was not. The first time I signed the document, my hand trembled so slightly that no one else would have noticed. The clause was buried halfway down the page, framed in language that sounded procedural rather than final. Primary decision-making authority. You trusted me with that. You said it made sense. You said I was better at paperwork. You said I was steadier under pressure. I told you we would always decide things together. When the revised document came through, there was a minor amendment. The wording had shifted by a fraction. It gave me the final say if we disagreed. You did not notice. You skimmed. You initialed. You smiled at me across the table as though this was all just sensible planning. I read the amendment 3 times. I understood exactly what it meant. I signed it anyway. There has not yet been a disagreement significant enough to use it. Not one that could not be resolved by conversation or compromise. But I know it is there. I know that if something ever fractures beyond repair, I hold the authority to decide. Sometimes I imagine the moment. The quiet invocation of a clause you barely remember agreeing to. The look on your face when you realise the balance was never quite equal. I tell myself I would not use it unfairly. I tell myself I kept it for protection, not control. But protection and control are neighbours. They share a fence thin enough to see through. You say you trust me more than anyone. You say it without hesitation. And every time you do, I feel the weight of that second signature pressing against my palm.
She opened the front door and let the aeroplane slip into the night without watching its path. In the keeper's chamber, the folded legal paper settled upon the desk and was opened with unhurried care. As the final crease eased flat, the temperature in the room dropped perceptibly, a thin frost forming along the rim of a metal key resting on the desk, before fading back into the dark.